recording in progress. So hi again, everybody. Karen Dodge here, and I'm speaking to my friend Cathy Riley now. Was it Alderson or was it Paul?
Whatever you want.
So Cathy and I go back a long time ago. Gosh, at yoga when we were pregnant. So we were in our 20s. We were in our 20s, Cathy. You don't look any different.
Oh well, I think
I can't see you. Not because of my eyes, but because we can't seem to master this Zoom thing, can we? Oh, I can see a pen there. So we did want to go side by side, but at the moment it's just me. And now if I press that, it's you. So Cathy, say hi.
Hi. Can you see both of us on your screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. So then you're
yeah. So we're off. And so Cathy and I go back 30 years, 40 years, quite a few years. No. And Cathy is living in Florida at the moment, in America. And we were just talking casually the other day, and she said she's going to work out, do a lot of work and look after herself, although she has spent her whole life doing that. But she wants to look sexy at 60. And I thought, what a great name for a little chat. And although Cathy looks sexy at 30, 40, 50, 20, that's all she's ever looked to me. But you're really going for it, Cathy. Can I ask you, what does it mean then to be sexy? First of all, either at 60 or 16, what does it mean?
I think it's all about like a vibrancy and a vitality that you exude, so that when people meet you, they like your energy because you have a certain enthusiasm towards life.
Enthusiasm for life.
Yeah. So I don't think it matters whether you whatever age you are. It's just having that kind of vitality, so that there's like an energy and a positivity.
So it's kind of is it like a mindset more than anything else?
Yeah, I believe that.
But do you think they say what is it? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So beauty, sexuality or sensuality, I guess that's the same thing or similar things. It's up to the individual, isn't it? Because some people might like very skinny girls, or girls with brown hair, or girls with no hair, or do you know? Everybody has an individual preference.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really just meaning it from a visual point of view. Yeah. I mean from like because being a natural health practitioner, it's like a whole body approach. So it's not just the fact that you might look good or something. It's like it's like a whole mind, body, soul kind of thing. So it's incorporating everything. So it's like having a confidence or a vitality, a positivity, I suppose, and being able to be inspirational.
Yes, to inspire others. I think that's very wise words.
I was looking at something, and I think with this whole sort of sexy thing, it's having a sort of confidence.
Yeah.
And getting past seeking approval. So probably in my 20s, I was always seeking approval, and the knocks of life make you stronger and stronger, and then you go, well, actually, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is how I feel and what I think, because people are always out there to knock you down. So you've got to be a self-believer, I suppose.
I mean, you've been living in the States for a couple of years now?
Yeah, coming up 3 years on and off, yeah.
And is it different in America? Like, they're very go-getter, land of your dreams and all that kind of stuff. And I found when I've been in the States that people encourage you. They want you to do well. They pat you on the back. Whereas in other countries, they kind of don't do that. They kind of want to bring you down. That's my personal experience. How do you find that?
Yeah, totally. It's got a completely different vibe here. As you know, I came back to England in the summertime, and I felt that kind of I don't want to say negativity, because I don't want to take away from English people, but there's like an underlying current of not quite good enough. Whereas I know Americans, they kind of like, you've got to fake it to make it kind of thing. And I I do believe that, you know, everyone that I meet, whether they're fake or not, they do have that kind of underlying positivity.
Yeah.
And they believe that you can do anything. And if you do well, yeah, they really do pat you on the back and they do encourage you. And, you know, if people are making millions of dollars, they are applauding them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really want everyone to strive and benefit. Yeah, I've always thought America is the land of opportunity, because pretty much whatever you put your mind to over here, you can do. And people do make a lot of money, and they, you know, do have well, certainly in the area that I'm living, you know, there is a quality of life and a certain affluence, I suppose.
Yeah. And where are you exactly?
I'm in Naples.
In Naples, not Italy, Naples, Florida.
Yes. Yes.
For those that do not know, I know, because I have been there, but not to visit you. Is there a lot of Italians there, being Naples? I'm assuming it's been named after Napoli.
Well, funnily enough, it's not.
Okay.
So someone told me recently why it's more to do with the water, I believe, because there's no, it's the shape. So I did Google this. It's to do with the shape of where we are located. So Florida comes down and you've got that sort of foot, a bit like Italy. Foot.
Yeah.
And Napoli is kind of on the corner. Well, Florida is kind of on the corner as we come down. So it's actually named after the look of how it appears on a map, rather than the fact
full of Italians.
Yeah, even though there are lots of Italians, and we've got Ireland, and we've got the Isle of Capri, and there are a lot of Italians here. There's like a Italian American Federation, and a lot of people you meet are like half Sicilian or half Italian, because we've got a lot of people moved down here to Florida who are from like Chicago and New York.
Right, they've come for the sun.
Yeah, the snowbirds. I mean, sometimes they go back there for the summertime and then are here for the winter.
Oh, because I think personally Italians are quite sexy, just because they're very very explicit with their hands, aren't they? As in, you know, there's a word for it, I can't think what it is, but they like to, and their accent is very attractive. I that's a personal thing.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Well,
you like them too
for 3 winters, and I always kind of
course, that's right, you lived it. Yes. I think you're cutting off a little bit, by the way, your the sound. Can you? Okay, that's better.
Maybe I'll turn it up a bit.
Okay. I think talking about accents here, French as well, they do it for me. Oh my God, they can say anything. I don't care. It's just that French. Do you remember that film? Actually, it's quite interesting. Green Card with Andy McDowell, Gerard Depardieu.
Yes.
I mean, he's aesthetically, he's not the most go-to sort of bloke, is he? But when there's a scene where he's doing something on the piano, and he's just, I see a little pencil coming off, and he's doing something on the piano, and he's speaking, and I thought, oh gosh, that'll do.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry White.
And therefore, I think with talking about being sexy at 60, you can be sexy at any age, can't you, really? But a lot of women, I think, as we go into our sixth decade, a lot of people fear it. I mean, you're not even there yet, so you're not 60 till next year, are you?
Only a couple of months. Well, where are we now? It's only way.
Yeah. And I turned 60 in March, and I kind of embraced it. And it really was like, oh my God, I made it. That's one thing. I thought I'm here, because a lot of people don't make 60, do they? You know. So and mostly my health is okay. You know, I've done okay for myself. I've raised kids, sort of. So I felt like I've earned this privilege of being 60, and to take it a little bit, not necessarily easier, but unless I wanted to. But it's kind of a rite of passage, isn't it? It comes with wisdom, you know, being the crone.
Yeah, because you know we all have life's lessons, and I think also the lessons is learning about yourself as well, and understanding yourself, and being aware of the shadow side.
Yes.
and all that kind of thing. And then it's like, okay, well, this is who I am, and going, you know, I don't need to fit into the crowd. I don't need to be having this approval or that approval, because we are all unique individuals that bring together something for society, and we've all got our little niche somewhere along the so that's kind of what I believe. It's having your
I think it's really true. And when I say, I guess, when I just said I made it, I think that's kind of what I'm referring to. Didn't know that when I said it, but I think that's very true, because there are so many knocks on the way. There's so many ups and downs with relationships and with financial stuff and with health, and every aspect of life can knock you for six. So when you sort of get, you know, you think, okay, I'm 60, phew, made it, what next? And it's like, because it is for most of us in our reaching 60, not everybody obviously, but we have sort of experienced a lot of life. The children may be off our hands, maybe we're getting grandchildren. I've got one coming in November. I don't know how hands-on I'll be, because I still feel like I'm supporting my, you know, children. They're not totally independent, but are they ever? But you do have that element of freedom. I think you think, oh my God, you know, I've come through the other side. I've done all those things that society expects you to do. Had a job, got a house, had the kids, and now what next? So it is exciting, but I think it also comes with a little bit of trepidation or fear, because there is this potential to do things that you've always wanted to do, like retirement, isn't it? You think, when I'm retired, I'm going to do what? It's an open canvas.
It is. Yeah, it's giving you that opportunity to do whatever you want to do, if you know what you want to do. And I think that's sometimes why people are fearful of it, because maybe their body isn't working in quite the way that it used to do, or they're not feeling as healthy as they were. It depends, you know, it all depends how people look after themselves. But I think it's really important to still have some sort of drive or ambition, because otherwise, I would say probably for myself, I got lost a little bit along the way, and it's like, well, what do I do next? And it's like, suddenly it's like, oh, okay, actually, instead of procrastinating, I'm just going to get out there and pump some iron and get back to the hot yoga, and you know, get fit and healthy, and make it my drive to be healthy for the rest of my life, because I don't want to be one of these infirm 70 or 80-year-olds who can barely walk, who need assistance. You know, there's a lot of elderly Americans here in Naples, and it's great because they're still going out, but you know, they're in strollers, or they turn a restaurant attached to their IV drip or their oxygen mask. But it's great because they're still getting out there and
about. But I guess it's quality of life as well, isn't it? We'll have to do another one of these called maybe Surviving at 70 or something, or whatever else at 80 and 90 and 100, because I generally think, or genuinely think, that there is potential for people to reach, you know, be 100 plus, 105, 110, especially with not so much the pharmaceuticals and the medications that are out there, but I think with, because you just alluded to it, self-help and health, and looking after yourself maybe in a natural way, which you have done all your life. I think you introduced me to many things without you even knowing it, but you would talk about homeopathy and various stuff when we first got together in the 20s, when we were both pregnant, and you've really followed that life. And Dr. McCullough, I remember you were reading his stuff way back, probably before he even was writing it. You were reading it, you know. So you've really been on this health journey all your life, haven't you? So give us some tips. Tell us what it is that you've done, the things that have really you feel worked for, you know, have worked for you, if there has been something.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
But I think it's remaining consistent, which I haven't always done, but it's you've got to have a consistency, and you know, the thing that has remained paramount ever since I can't remember, like I don't know, as a teenager, I have hot lemon every single morning. I'll squeeze an entire lemon and have that on rising, because that flushes out the kidneys and is just a really good system detoxification. So I would say that every morning on rising, have hot lemon to reboot them. And water, the body is predominantly made of water. Different parts of it, we're sort of 70 to 90% water. You've got to hydrate. So many diseases and illnesses are caused through dehydration. There's an amazing book that I might have told you about before. It's written by an Iranian doctor who was put in jail at the time of the Shah, and it's called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I'll have to get it.
Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And basically, like I say, he was a doctor, but he was put in an Iranian jail at the time of when the Shah took over, whenever that was, years and years and years ago. And people would go to him for advice, but because he was in jail for 3 years, he didn't have access to any medications. So if people said, oh, I've got a headache, he'd say, drink 1 cup of water. If they had arthritis, he'd say, drink 3 cups of water. If they had heart palpitations, he'd say, like, drink 6 cups of water. And he basically prescribed water in varying amounts to different people, and then kind of documented everything and how he managed to cure and help so many people just by water.
Drinking water.
Because the body, the body's cells are made of water, and if they made of like 70 to 90 trillion cells, and our little cells, they just like shrivel up, just like if you put like a plum in the sun, it becomes a prune, it becomes shriveled. Your cells can't resonate. Everything's about frequencies. That's the other thing that's very important to me, is frequencies.
So sorry, my dogs are off barking as usual. Every time I do a recording, that's come through to you, the dogs bark. That's because somebody's at the door.
They're part of it.
Yeah, excuse me one sec. Because the other thing, I just might have to let that dog out. That's it. Gosh. The other thing, talking about water though, have you heard of a lady called Vida Austin? Or Veda Austin? She's doing the rounds now, and she's a New Zealand lady, and she's just been over in the UK, and now I think she's in America doing a tour. And she's like taking the next step from Yasuro Emoto, so when he was doing all the hieroglyphs, the messages that water can give. My dog's joined me. And so I went to her talk the other day. It's a full day workshop, and there were so many people that were queuing up to see her. Then I did hundreds of people. It was just so inspiring. And what she's talking about with water is the consciousness of water, and she's actually communicating with it. She'll say words and freeze it in her special freezing machine, and the message afterwards is quite incredible. And I think we do take water for granted, especially because of the quality of water. I mean, in the UK, I think they're putting fluoride in it now, I think. And although dentists say have fluoride in your teeth, your toothbrush, it's not always the best thing to have, is it? If you think where fluoride comes from.
No, fluoride is a waste product. I was told many, many years ago when I lived in New Zealand, so back in the late 80s, I was told by my naturopath teacher there, he said, fluoride is rat poison. And you should never have it, because it calcifies the pineal gland. So the pineal gland has access to truth and your higher dimensions, and it dumbs you down, basically. And so that's why there's a lot of problems here in America, because they've had fluoride in the water system since the 1960s, because obviously the American government knew exactly what they were doing. And
it's quite scary, isn't it, when you start finding these things out? A lot of it is like incredible, thinking, well, we take water for granted and you just assume it's good for you. That comes from the tap or the faucet, as you would say, or even from plastic bottles. Now I'm hearing the things that are in the plastic bottles of water aren't healthy. So
I mean, where possible, you should always buy glass bottles, because the plastic leaches out, and then that's a hormone disruptor. But tap water, wherever I go, I always buy a distiller. And every single day I distill 3 liters of water and use it for cooking, for cleaning, for, cleaning vegetables, for drinking. I know it's a dead water, but then I add minerals to it. Because every single time in the base of the distiller, I could show you now if you really wanted. Oh no, I just cleaned it. No, I'm going to do it.
But I think water is so important, and we're going to actually do a show specifically just on water. But moving on, so you've come to that. You've mentioned water. What else would you say? You've got your lemon in the morning. Drink loads of good, healthy water. What else? Exercise is key for you, isn't it?
It's key for everybody. You know, it's been proven that, you know, exercising has a positive effect on all aspects of your health, on your cholesterol levels, on your heart health, on your brain health, on, you know, mental outlook, you know, on so many different aspects. And especially as we get older, we need to pump iron. You know, every woman over 60 needs to get in that gym and start pumping iron, because you want to retain the calcium and the strength in your bones, because that's the biggest problem, is people start leaching the minerals from their bone. And as you get older, you've got more chance of getting osteoporosis and then getting fractures and things like that. Yeah. And really want to retain your bone health. Over here in America, we've got something, there's a new clinic just opened up. It's called OsteoStrong, and they have like ridiculously high weights. It's like you bench press like 200. Normally I'd like bench press, I don't know, like 100 or something, but you just bench press a really, really high weight literally for 3 seconds, and it's proven to helping in, well, it will you can reverse osteoporosis. It will help.
That's really very good to hear, because I know you hear, like, I think it happened to my gran and other older ladies in my life, that they've got to a certain age and then they slipped, they've broken their hip, and they don't come out of hospital, and it is because the bones, you know, are weak, osteoporosis. And I'm not one that goes to the gym. I actually don't do that. I prefer, I like yoga and, you know, doing planks and stuff like that. Maybe not enough, but I think that's a little bit weight bearing. But for me, I know I don't do enough, and I should do more. So maybe I will, but I probably won't. But I hear what you're saying totally.
I'll get you down that gym, Karen.
I know. That's why I'm not coming to see you in America, Cathy. No. No, I'm joking. I just don't like the gym. It's funny. Some people, I love classes. Anything with music, that's great. But I just find the gym really tough.
I know. Which is why this also strong. It's such a brilliant idea. And I'm going to have to tell this woman in Naples I'm advertising her clinic. But you have to do weight bearing exercises, and it has to be quite heavy. You've got to push about, you know, you've got to retain that strength, because as soon as you start losing the strength, then that's the
downward hill. No, you don't want that. Okay.
You've got to get strong. Got to get strong.
So what else? So it's strength, it's water, it's starting the day with lemon, fresh air, obviously.
Fresh air as much as possible, getting into nature as much as possible, because when you're in the woods or by the ocean or waterfall or on top of the mountain, something like that, you get all the negative ions, which are really good for cellular health. And obviously healthy eating. You know, the simplest way with healthy eating, I say, if it looks like it grew, you know, obviously some people don't like eating meat, and that's fair enough, or meat or fish or whatever, but if it lived or if it grew, eat it. If it's in a packet, it's not natural, so don't eat it. So if it looks like it grew, you know, a plant, a vegetable, a seed, a nut,
it's something like live food. Is it live food as opposed to dead food or processed food? Because So what do you think about the new thing? Because I don't eat meat. I do eat fish. And for me personally, it's because it's a cute and fluffy thing. You know, I just couldn't bring myself to. I used to eat meat, but what about as a meat eater? You eat chicken and you eat fish. I do eat fish occasionally. What do you think about bugs? Because they started to introduce bugs into our diet. So how do you feel about bugs? Is that for the protein? Is that a good thing?
Well, they say it is. You know, I don't know enough about it. I was watching a TV chef, you know, one of these competitions on TV the other day, and they were cooking crickets, because obviously they're trying to bring the bugs into the food chain now, and they are already definitely here in America. There's certain crisps apparently which contain crickets, and actually on my phone, on my iPhone, I guess Androids too, there's an app you can download which will detect, you just scan it, you go around the supermarket, you scan it, and it will tell you if there's any insects in the in the product you're about to buy. So I went around Publix, which is like, you know, a bit like Sainsbury's or whatever, and I was scanning all these packets just to see if there were any bugs in it. But yes, it's
were there any?
Not on the ones that I tested,
No.
but
Okay.
From, you know, a colleague or something, I've been sent something which says there bugs detected in this or whatever. So they're definitely already there in the food chain, which again is something that is all pre-planned by the powers that be.
I suppose, I mean, if you're a celebrity, get me out of there, you know, you eat them, don't you? And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I wouldn't want to. But then if you're going to eat a living animal, not a plant, then why not a bug? But it doesn't really appeal to me.
Oh, well, they say it's because it's cheap and they're full of protein. I mean, you know, so I lived in Australia, as I know you did, and I went to visit, you know, the Aboriginals in Uluru in the middle of Australia by Ayers Rock, and I went to an Aboriginal like a tribal thing where they still live, and you know, and they got us to eat witchetty grubs, which is like a slug type thing, you know, it tasted like scrambled egg. So you know, if you're out in the wilds or you know, there are, if you want to eat animal sourced, you know, then yes, it is another. But
I think it's just, if people want to, that's fine. I think it's just not the fact that it shouldn't be hidden. You know, if you've got an app on your phone to detect if there's bugs in this, that, and the other, that's where it's sneaky. So, you know, you could go and get a packet of witchetty grubs or crickets or something, then you know you're doing it. Then that's all in the open. But it's when it's been sneaked in, I think that's, you know, because a lot of people will be repulsed by it, I think, or repelled, and they just don't feel comfortable. But
that's why you should have process, because you don't know what they sneak in.
No, exactly. I should have asked at the beginning, for people that don't know you, what your past is in this world of health and well-being. So you know, you've got quite a few accolades, haven't you? You've done quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I guess I have. I had to write my bio the other day for a yoga studio where I'm going to be doing some teaching. But yeah, I guess I've always been interested in natural health and healing. You know, my mum was pretty healthy, and well, very healthy. My mum's, you know, as you know, she's just turned 94. Dad will be 95. Grew up on a farm on the outskirts of Brighton, so I've always been sort of involved in outside life, and they had huge vegetable patches, so we always had homegrown vegetables as much as possible. And I guess that must have rubbed off on me. And then when I went to live in Australia back in the 88, I trained as a fitness instructor, an aerobics instructor. And then when I went to New Zealand, I trained with a naturopath, and I became a massage therapist. But we also covered things like homeopathy, nutrition, that sort of thing. And then came back to England and did a gym instructor's course, diet, nutrition, massage, and just developed from there on. You know, I've kind of trained in all different types of massage. I like to say I specialize in myofascial release and craniotherapy. I set up a school and I was a massage teacher. But always the nutritional, and you know, for me it's a whole body approach. You've got to look at everything. You can't just say you need massage or you need nutrition or you need exercise. You've got to incorporate everything, and you've also got to incorporate the emotions. So you know, so that's why fascia appeals to me, because the fascial system within the body is our communication system, and that records our emotional thinking and healing and every aspect of our being. And funnily enough, talking about water, the fascia, people don't really realize this, but they think fascia is just like a covering surrounding muscles, which it is. That's the superficial fascia. It surrounds and separates, but it also penetrates and it goes right down to cellular level, and it's actually little microtubules filled with fluid, filled with a kind of water. It's not H2O as we know it. I was reading different things recently. So some people say it's H3O2, and then someone else said it's like H1.5. So I'm not sure of the exact chemical or whatever, but this is our memories. Our memories within the body are formed from the water. So it was interesting you're talking about Veda, because so everything everything, a vibrational thought pattern, and the water within our cells resonate with that, which is why you've got to have that positivity. And even Joe Dispenza, actually I'm going to read it because I've just written it down just a few minutes ago. It's very quick. He says, whatever you broadcast to the field is your experiment with destiny. So basically that's saying whatever you're putting out there mentally, even your thought, whether you're saying it out loud or your internal thought patterns, that is being broadcast to all around us within every cell in our body. And that's our destiny. That is what we'll create.
It's like we are not just what we eat, but we are what we think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it goes further than the law of attraction, isn't it? Because I know this is like alluding to the law of attraction, but it is kind of that mindset, isn't it? It's the power of positive thinking.
It is.
Going on that, so what you're just saying, for those of us that might have let ourselves go as we've got to 60, we might have a few extra tires, or we might not be going to the gym, or we might be sitting watching the telly every night, drinking too much beer. What is there hope? Can we all get back on track?
Absolutely. If it took you a while to get to wherever, so it's not going to be overnight changes, but you start reversing that, and then you can come back on track if you feel that you've lost the way. So yeah, there's always hope. All these degenerative diseases can be reversed, but it takes time and commitment and a discipline, and so you've got to really want to do it, but that your health will benefit, and it will give you life in your long later years, right? Being a vegetable.
And because you also said something about the mental side of things, because we have been challenged recently, but throughout life there are so many challenges that life throws at us, and sometimes just that motivation, even me sometimes, I say even me, but I sometimes say I can't be bothered to get out of bed today. We do need to have a purpose. So for those people that can't get out of bed on a more than one day, 3 days, or a week, because they're really fed up, or they think they've got nothing to get up for, how would you address that? What would you suggest? Sorry, that's a big question. But as kind of as a coach,
that is a really big question. But I think you've got to go inside yourself and say, what do I really want? What do I really want from the rest of my life? And again, with the law of attraction, it's like, so say you some people will put blocks in the way because they'll go, well, this is what I really want, but I can't afford it, or I'd like to live here, but I can't travel, or that people. So you've got to forget about the highs, the hows, and the wheres and the whys. You've just got to go inside and go, what do I really want from my life? And I know that's hard for some people to discover, because once you know what you want, then you can go and get it. So sometimes that can be a challenge. So you've really got to have some silent time and unplug yourself from the TV, unplug yourself from unhealthy eating or unhealthy drinking.
Yeah.
It's quite, I know we've all had our issues with alcohol and things like that. And I know you don't touch it at all anymore. And when I don't drink, it gives me a certain clarity. But eating, drinking, people do that to numb themselves out, because sometimes we feel is an unpleasant, or we're depressed with our life or whatever, and you go, oh, I'll have a drink, it will make me feel better. Well, the first one or two might, but any more than that, then it starts to have a real detrimental effect. And then that depletes essential fatty acids, which are essential for mental health. So yeah, it's very difficult if you're in that downward
Do
spiral.
you think finding like a coach, a life coach, or whatever other coaches, there's so many of them out there, do you think that helps people? You know,
Yeah,
if they are feeling really fed up, to get and find somebody, that's even an issue, isn't it, sometimes? But that's
yeah,
a good thing.
absolutely. Yeah, it's having someone to boost you. You know, it's
Yeah.
always easier if you've got someone there for support. You know, it's tough doing things on your own. You know, everyone needs support, if they can get it, you know, or you've got to be very resilient and know that you can bounce back, and know whatever happened, you can, you know, you can recover from it. It's like that great saying, about, you know, time and the present. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. That's why we call it the present.
Yeah, very true.
So,
what wise words from a wise woman, Cathy.
oh, that was from some guru in India. So
You remembered it?
It's not my. I used to say
I
that.
can't even remember. That's my problem. Memory. And we are going to be having a show on dementia. I don't think I've got dementia yet, but I know quite often we'll forget things, or we put things where they don't belong, don't we? Like keys are in the fridge or something. Sometimes I think that's just because we're busy. That's what I like to say, not just because I'm losing it or I've turned 60.
Well, again, that's being consciously aware, which is something that Esther Hicks said, isn't it? It's like the, you know, the law of deliberate creation. It's being in the present moment, being consciously aware of what you're doing here and now, knowing where you put your keys. I'm consciously going to put my keys in the same place every time I walk through the door, so I know exactly where they are.
Very true. So if you had your time again from the age of 18, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I'd have believed in myself sooner and got myself, you know, it was my own lack of confidence that stopped me from getting out there when I was younger. So
that's amazing. So now you're coming up to 60. That's the confidence that you have now. That does make you feel a little bit more sexy, because I think sexy isn't, I think we said this at the beginning, it's not just about the sexuality and how gorgeous you can look with your tight fitting dress or anything like that, but it is that feeling of empowerment, isn't it? That strength of character, the wisdom, just being able to hold yourself, and the experience that you have in life. I think that is really sexy, really sexy.
Yeah, and also it, you know, it's trying to be upbeat. Like, you know, always when I'm with you, I always laugh because your tons of fun, and so that's the sexiness. So you know, it's in fun and flirty. You know, not just with men, but with your girlfriends, with whoever. You know, it's creating a positivity and a lightness. You know, I kind of think, so for me it's all about like vitality and vibrancy, and that's like a lightness. It's like when you're feeling good, you kind of you're light on your feet, rather than having that heavy feeling where your cells sort of weigh you down. It's being upbeat and light, you know. So skip, and you know, I went for a skip along the beach the other day. It was so funny.
Skippy. With a rope, or just you know, like
just
Spot the Dog used to do. Do you remember Spot the Dog?
Yeah, I do.
What was that from? Oh God, I can't remember. Spot. Anyway, the thingy tots. Oh.
Yeah.
With Watch with Mother. Anyway, sorry. So you went skipping, but were the rest of the Floridians skipping as well? Because you weren't in Miami. No,
I was the beach skipping along, and I got stopped by a couple of people, and they said, "You must be a really happy lady."
Oh.
Because I went, "No, I just don't care."
Skip off. Thought they were going to arrest you or something. No, you carried on skipping. Do you remember back in the day we got those Kangoo boots? You've still got them.
I still have them, and I bounce most days, because again, that's really good for the lymphatic system, which helps rid the body of waste products. So and it helps.
For those that don't know what the Kangoo boots are, they are like springs, aren't they, that you put on your feet, a boot, and you spring like a kangaroo. You've gone again. The sound's gone. Say that again.
Oh, I have one just over there. I could bring it right.
Go get. So while Cathy's gone to get her Kangol boots or Kangol, whatever they're called. Here they are. I'm going to zoom back into her. Yes, that's right. And the springs on the bottom, yeah.
That compresses, so it takes out the impact. But no, one of the biggest things. So I had a new client last week, and she's got edema. And again, this can happen a lot as people get older as well, because people think if you've got swelling in the body, you've got to restrict your fluid intake, but in actual fact, you've got to increase your fluid intake because of the lymph gets thick. So instead of it being very fluid, it gets like thick, like curdled milk. So I use the Kangol boots because when you jump, it gives like creates a zero pressure and the lymph can return. I would recommend. So this lady, who, she won't tell me how old she is, but I don't want to say the wrong thing just in case she sees this video, but she's older than me. So she's definitely in her mid-60s, if not older, I'm not sure. But she's got edema, and so the best thing is like a mini trampoline. If you don't want a Kangol, like those little mini trampolines that you give us for kids to play on. They're the best things for you know, they call them rebounders.
Rebounders, aren't they? Are they called rebounders? I think. Yeah.
Oh. Sell them online for £20 or something.
So that could be just a good way if you are at home, you know, demotivated, just getting a little rebounder for 20 quid and just bounce up and down for a little bit. That's a start, isn't it? And then maybe looking at your diet and doing some juicing. Would you recommend juicing to replace food?
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, you've got to concentrate more on vegetables rather than fruit. A lot of people, when they do juicing, they like to use lots of apples and things like that. But you've got to be careful of the sugar levels in fruit. So green celery and ginger, most people don't particularly like it because it's a bitter, but it's one of the best things that you can do.
And I was chatting with somebody the other day, and two people actually. It's interesting about sowing seeds, isn't it? As in metaphorically here, when somebody says something. Well, firstly, two things. When you mentioned water, I'm just going to zoom into me. When you mentioned water a while ago, I remember fluoride. I was actually in Miami on a course, an A&P, Anatomy and Physiology course for Barbara Brennan, Hands of Light. I was training for a healer. And my teacher, she just mentioned fluoride, and she casually mentioned it, saying, oh, apparently, you know, they kind of put it in the water and it's not healthy for you. And she moved on to the next subject. But that, to me, my antennas went up. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to, well, Google wasn't around then, but I'm going to look into it. And then I did look into it, and I was quite amazed at the history of fluoride. So that was one little seed. And what were we talking about before? I've forgotten. I've totally gone off. Sowing seeds.
Sowing seeds, yes.
And what were you saying about it? You were saying, we were talking about the lady.
Rebounders and water, about getting out of, if you were depressed and in bed.
And I was going to say something totally relevant, but it's gone. So it must be dementia, because it was quite an important thing to say. But if it's meant to be, it was definitely about sowing seeds for people that might be listening to this and the health aspect. But I can't remember what it was. So that's not very good, is it? So I'm going to zoom back to you.
Well, everybody over the age of 40 needs coenzyme Q10.
Yes.
So coenzyme Q10 helps with energy production in the body. It's all part of the ATP or Krebs cycle. I can say so the ATP, but that really helps
memory.
Generate. Well, no, it generates energy within the body.
Because I must have just had something, because my memories just come back with the seeds that were being sown.
Good.
And somebody casually the other day was talking about I think the word is oscillates. Could be wrong. And I said, oh, what's that? They said, well, don't eat too many greens because of the oscillates. I said, what are oscillates? And they said, well, if you have too many, like on your chard or spinach, it's carcinogenic, it's cancer causing. And I thought, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I thought it's bonkers, because, you know, we're all told to eat our greens, we're all told to do this, we're all told to do that. So I just dismissed it. But then I bumped into this lady the other day. She's going to be on Kitty. She's going to be one of our wise women. And she said the same thing. And she's a very fit and able lady. And she said the same thing about, I'm sure the word is oscillates, OCE. OCELATES or YTS. I'll have to look it up, because I haven't. It's only just the fact that seeds that are being sown, you know, as I was talking about the fluoride, and when I was on my course, somebody mentioned something, and then I thought, oh, somebody else did something, and then you start investigating, you become curious. The same thing was with this oscillates, which apparently cover the greens that we're told to eat. I don't think it's from being sprayed. I think they come naturally, but you can overdose on it, and they are carcinogenic. Oscillates might be a new thing.
I don't think it's a new thing, but I think before we go down that route, we need to get those facts completely correct. So spinach contains oxalic acid. I think you're talking about oxalates, but
maybe it's oxalates then.
Oxalic acid, which can cause kidney problems, but
right.
Spinach should always be cooked rather than eaten raw. But the whole thing with nutrition, it depends on your blood type, depends on your constitution. So, you know, no one thing fits all, which is why
of course.
Subject, because I have probably done so many different, I've done my naturopathy course, I've done different nutrition courses, I've done the blood type, you know, I've trained in the blood type diet, and yet when you start looking at all these things, they all start counteracting one another. So you've either got to come from, you know, some people will be just the plant-based diet. So for example, I nearly applied, well, I did apply for a job at the Hippocrates clinic. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Hippocrates.
Yes, yeah.
In West Beach on the other side of Florida. So people go there when they've tried everything. And they have reversed people from stage 4 cancer by giving greens. So you have to be a little bit careful by saying
I think you're right. I think that's also why it's really important that we all do our own research for everything, isn't it? And I think we get that when we do turn 60, if not before, because we're told this from school, you know, kind of indoctrinate about breakfast is the best meal of your day, which actually is a slogan that Kellogg's Cornflake created, which was quite interesting, because I grew up thinking you've got to go and have your breakfast. And then I met people, they never had breakfast. And I thought, well, my mum said you have to have a breakfast. It's the best meal of the day. So you grow up with these messages, and then suddenly you get to an age, so it doesn't have to be 60, but you start thinking, hang on a minute, and you start thinking for yourself. And not just what everybody tells you what to do, especially like mainstream media or, you know, publications or things that institutions that we've grown up with thinking they know best for us, doctor knows best. Not always the case. So I think it's really important, again, to think outside the box and to do some, you know, investigating. Like you've just said, I've mentioned a couple of things, and you said, well, let's, you know, maybe yes, maybe not. So we have to do our own research, and one size doesn't always fit all, does it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And from the juice point of view, you know, the Gerson clinic, you might have heard of the Gerson diet. You know,
is that the one in Portugal? No, is that where there's a guy that runs something in Portugal? I know some people that go to Portugal and just pay a lot of money to just drink juice for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, I don't know if there could be one in Portugal, but I think they're in Tijuana. They were, because he was a medical doctor that came up with these natural cancer cures, but of course he was struck off the medical register, so he had to move across the border to Mexico where he could operate again. And so it was Max Gerson, and now his daughter, who's I guess in her 80s or 90s, I think Charlotte Gerson, they've still got the Gerson Clinic, and they have a huge success rate in curing cancer naturally, and it's mostly juicing. And then you know, one day we should have just put all our research together with different cancer.
Yeah. Well, I know with this channel that I've set up, the Wise Women Weekdays. I I haven't got used to saying it yet. Wise Women weekdays, and that is because it will be on every weekday ultimately. But yeah, the subjects, there's just so many things to talk about, and the more I speak to people, I think, oh, we've got to talk about this, we've got to talk about that, because there is so much knowledge to get out there. And ultimately, when we go live, that's when people can, you know, tap in the questions on the chat box, which we can't do yet until we get 1,000 subscribers. I think. I'm learning, I'm finding my way around Zoom and YouTube. As you can see, we haven't managed to go side by side on this thing, but at least we've managed to communicate. And yeah, and it's been really good. So just to finish, Cathy, is there anything, I know you could tell us so many things. You're incredible with your knowledge. I've gone to you many times over the years asking for advice. So is there anything, you know, in a nutshell, that you could just end with?
Oh, you've really put me on the spot. Well, so there's so many other things I want to talk about. Red light therapy, frequency.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just I think it's just you've got to get up and, well, something I learned from Anthony Robbins. So you're familiar with Anthony Robbins, I'm sure, inspiration speaker. So he always said, when you get up every morning, you should spend 9 minutes doing these 3 different things. And so the first thing is getting up and offering gratitude. So for 3 minutes, you think of 3 different situations you're grateful for. Maybe being grateful to your family, or grateful to loved ones, or friends. And you know, find 3 things that you're grateful for, and just kind of spend a minute on each topic and just give thanks. Then 3 minutes of deep breathing. So yeah, breath. Without breath, there is no life, you know. So you've got to breathe, and most people don't breathe properly. So we've done breathing exercises in yoga training, Kapalabhati, pranayama breathing, alternate nostril breathing, this sort of thing. So just breathe. Like I say, most people shallow breathe, so start taking some big deep breaths, and you can change your mindset just by your breath. So 3 minutes of deep breathing, preferably Kapalabhati breathing, because it clarifies the mind. Like Kapalabhati, it means shining skull. And then 3 things that you want to achieve. So again, it's, you know, having that positive thought pattern. So coming up with 3 different ideas. What do I want to achieve? Where do I want to go? So having that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's fantastic that you could just on the hop on the hop. Just when I throw a question at you, you came up with the answer. Is that on the hop?
Well, I'm stealing it from Anthony Robbins, but you know,
you can remember it. You can remember it, which is really good, because I have my mind's a bit of a sieve. You know, it goes in somewhere. People tell me things, it goes somewhere, but I can't always articulate.
You've got
so that again.
You've got so much knowledge, so that's why, you know, I think sometimes you say, you know, forgetful, but we're bombarded with so much information now. They say we get bombarded with like a month's information in a day, you know, from what we used to do when you would just read a publication or something. Constantly your phone's pinging. It's just, you know, it confuses people because there's too much, and the brain can
overload. And I think that's also, you know, that, like you said, the screens, you know, some of us are on the screens a little bit too much, because they are taking over our lives.
Yes.
That's not healthy, especially for the youngsters coming in. You know, they haven't known a life without screens. Luckily we have, and I think our children have. They were just on the cusp. Thank God they have experienced life without screens and mobile phones and all that, because although you can do a lot more and get a lot more information, to me it was, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased, but it was a lot more pleasant in a way without the screens, because we were more in touch with each other. But now I'm talking to you in the other side of the world, across the pond, and I couldn't do that without a screen, could I? So there are pros and cons. I guess it's moderation, like anything. Moderation.
But I think the biggest thing that society misses is community. And which is why everyone needs these, you know, you've got to try and set up these little groups where you get together with like-minded people, maybe little meetup groups, or some of the groups that you're setting up. People need people, and you need company. I think a lot of problems stem from a lot of people are feeling lonely and you know, out of touch. One kind of lives on their own in a shoebox, and doesn't have much
much going. Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to stop. That's also partly why I've created this, even if it's on screens, it's to bring, bringing the wise women. Okay, we can meet, but also all those other people that maybe can't get out the house for whatever reason, or just want to, want answers to certain things as a community. That's what, partly what this is about.
Sure.
Okay, so on that note, Cathy, I'm really, really grateful for your time. Thank you so much. And it's nice to see the thing whizzing over your head. It looks like you've moved now, so now people can see it's a fan. But beforehand, it's just like your aura was spinning. your crown chakra was like, wow, you've reached ascension.
Fly away. Oh,
helicopter.
Thank you for
it's a pleasure. I definitely have you back on, and we can talk about so many things. If there's a subject that you specifically wanted, well, you didn't know it, but when you said, "Oh, I want to be sexy at 60," which you are anyway, sexy at 59, I thought, what a great heading, and that's why I jumped on that. But if there's another subject that you would love to share, then give us a shout, and we'll come back on again. And again, once I get this uploaded onto YouTube, then people can also comment and say this is what they would like to hear from you. So we'll get feedback.
Okay, that sounds great. So
all right. Well, have a lovely Friday, lovely weekend. Okay,
enjoy hugging those trees.
I shall. I've just come back from hugging them for 2 days, actually. It was just amazing. There's a video coming up on that. Yeah. Anyway, lots of love to you, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.